They get free access to the databases. For electronic version of the database, as an independent, I had to pay 10 cents per name. It's like $250,000, $300,000. Republican, Democrat got it for free. As a libertarian or an independent, I couldn't register people to vote. And you wonder why there weren't that many libertarians. There were so many of these laws that I took every one of them and I challenged them. I got more Ernie laws than I know what to do with. Got a lot of stuff changed. But what it did is during that process, I met my first libertarians. As I'm sitting here just trying to come to grips with what this whole thing is so messed up, I meet all these libertarians and they're going, duh, what do you think was going to happen? They're in charge. They had an answer for it, because I was like a lot of the new people that are here that came from the Democrat or Republican Party. And depending on what state you're in, there's a lot of states, a lot of Democrats come in. Some states it's Republicans. What we're going to find a lot of Democrats coming in after Obama, how's that, no war, peace thing going? So what happened was, I wanted to make sure that people understood what the real role of government was, or we need to alter or abolish. One or the other. I understood from my lawsuit that the most change that I got, the most movement in the legislature, the most laws passed, the most awareness of people, it was from the media and the attention I got from the lawsuit. So I'd always go around before the internet, I'd say, did you get your government number? Well, we need to this. I go, you got to have a government number. Suit number, referendum, recall, candidate, arrest number. If you did not have that number, you didn't get media coverage. So I figured out how to file my own suits. I filed a lawsuit pro se as a litigant myself. I went and got the papers. I sat there, my wife and I, on the old Model 4 TRS-80 computer, with, you had a bread box that had an additional 5 megs of memory. Back in the day. So we're doing all this up. We're filing suits. I'm making an argument. I'm making an argument. I knew I was right. Doesn't matter. A lot of the lawsuits that I won on, I go back to look at the precedent to be able to argue in future stuff for the Libertarian Party, different things that we were doing, and it wasn't there. Judge Buttrick, he was our candidate in '94 for governor, now is a sitting judge, and he'll be retiring here pretty soon. He'll get back into politics, I'm sure. I called him and I said, Judge, what's up with this precedent thing? It's not there. And he goes, oh man, Ernie, didn't you get the memo? They only publish what they want to. What? They only publish them when it's big press. A lot of people know about it. Or it's to their advantage. If neither of those happen, you don't see it as precedent. You can go find it, but it's not published precedent. And I go, then what's the freaking point? So I understood from early on that the most action, the most attention, the most education, the most activity and activism that I got out of any of these lawsuits and so on was the media coverage that I got, was the awareness that the people had. So I go, okay, so I can file for $120, and even then, you're poor enough, you just go, it's called forma pauperis. You go, I'm too poor to pay for this. All right, you got to write the petition, your government free address, boom, it's free. Man, I'm a suit filing SOB. Here I come. So me and some other guys, and by then the Libertarians are starting to get involved. In '91, I'm working with them, filing suits, going after it. Because that's how we got press coverage. Wall Street Journal, Arizona, the Libertarian state. Arizona has the highest Libertarian percentages for president all the time. We run for statewide office. I get 8% for Secretary of State. There's a reason why. It's because we were active. Because we were challenging the cult of the omnipotent state. That's my favorite part about the Libertarian Party Statement of Principles. And that's why it's 7/8 to get rid of it. It was to be permanent. We, the members of the Libertarian Party, challenge the cult of the omnipotent state. And if you look at the wording of that, what is it? Cult, the adoration, worship of what? An all-knowing, all-powerful state. Sound familiar? And the reason that came in is because when they started the Libertarian Party, it was because Nixon had done wage and price controls, EPA, OSHA. Man, it was coming. There was all kinds of stuff. And there were people of the day just said, look, man, we're not going to fix it from inside here. We got Tricky Dick up there representing the old freedom, okay? So I was drawn in by a lot of libertarians that, and you'll get, if you run, a lot of you guys, new guys running for office, you got a good freedom's the answer, what's the question answer? It was like, you libertarians got an answer for everything. As if it was a bad thing. And I'm going, a guy named Rick Tompkins, he later ran for president against Harry Brown in '96. He was the state chair. And I asked him a lot of these questions. But what about, and what about, and what about, and what about? And he'd have an answer. And I go, oh, I get it. Freedom's the answer. What's the question? This directed my, no matter what you come up with, I'm on the radio 4 hours every day. 6, 7 states, people calling in. But what about, what about? I already know, I just want you to know, freedom's the answer, whatever you're going to say. You know, go ahead, what's your question? And then I'd articulate why freedom was better. This has been a long road for myself and a lot of my friends that I grew up and of age, and our kids are now of voting age and so on. But in 1994, as Libertarian, I ran for Secretary of State. By that time, I knew that the election laws were all set to the advantage of the local parties that were in power. I mean, on every level. I mean, Mississippi probably has it better than a lot of states, but I'm telling you, man, they're not your buddies, okay? So as I'm running, at that time, computer voting started becoming a big deal. And I knew, at the time, I was running against the President of the Senate, which was a Democrat, and the Speaker of the House, which was a Republican. They wanted to be Secretary of State really bad. And I knew why. During all my discovery and all this stuff, they're in the lawsuit. At the time, you had only 14% of the people were registered independent. Now they're larger than both Republicans and Democrats in Arizona. At the time, you had only 14%, but they made up 30% of the people that actually voted in the general election. They were like, I knew people were smarter than everybody gave them credit. They had just passed a law that made it illegal for you to ever compare the paper ballot that you voted on with what the computer said. It was illegal. As we're doing the forums and so on, one of the benefits in Arizona, because we've been so hard on this, we get in all the debates, we're televised, we get enough media coverage, we're good. And it's because we've been real pains in the rear, a lot of lawsuits and so on. So we're there arguing, and we're in Northern Arizona Flagstaff. And I'm talking about, this law and so on. And they go, Mr. Hancock, and it goes like this. They always do it like this. Here's a TV reporter. They're going, Mr. Hancock, do you really think there's election fraud? What's the crazy libertarian going to say? And I go, of course, I got proof. What? Here comes all the reporters. We're going to get the crazy libertarian saying something. And I go, they passed legislation making it illegal for you to ever find it. How much proof do you need? How's the weather? They don't want to talk about it. As time went on, I ran for Congress. In '04, I ran for U.S. Senate against McCain. Had fun with that. Been on the radio since '03. I had a family restaurant. My wife and I owned a pizza restaurant and so on. We sold that in '03. Immediately, even while it overlapped, I started radio because a lot of libertarian friends that had resources said, we'll sponsor whatever, you just go get on the radio. We got to get a libertarian to say what libertarianism is instead of Republicans, Democrats, or the media saying what it is as we're going into war. This is right before we went into Iraq. So I'm going, all right, cool, let's do it. 2 hours a day, 2-hour morning show in Scottsdale, Arizona, major media market, libertarian on the radio. How the heck did that happen?